Hi, everyone. It's Shannon Port, and welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the Aries New Moon cycle. Today is, in fact, Happy New Moon. We're doing this live stream today on the Aries New Moon, and we are going to I named it Archetypal Magic. And so it's the Art of the Feminine podcast. Art of the Feminine is the name of the platform on Instagram and Facebook. And so if you're looking for us on social media, it's called Art of the Feminine. And that's the home of the work that we're going to be working with. It's called, I named the new series Archetypal Magic. And I'm really excited about it. We always work with the archetypes, but the name came to me a while back, and I thought it just is the perfect way to describe the synthesis of the different energies that we pull from that create a really, really beautiful language. It's grown and evolved over the past 10 to 15 years. And so hello. And so it's I'm excited about it. Archetypal Magic today is Aries New Moon, and we call it I am that I am. I am that I am. And so I am that I am is a profound mantra. I work with the mantra I am a lot. We're going to decode it and kind of see how it fits in with the wisdom. I just want to say, to start the video, that I received, because I mentioned this last time, I received many emails from people about light body yoga. I don't have the information ready yet. In the next video, I promise, and I will be sending it out next week. So I'm teaching light body yoga the first week in May, and it's amazing, but I don't have the information to send you yet. It's coming. It's on the way this week. So that being said, let's dive in. We're going to talk about the archetype for Aries, which is the Emperor. And I also would like to say, and then we'll talk about the aspects at the new moon. This energy, when we do a new moon, archetypal magic, it's not just for the day of the new moon. There's many cycles with the moon. And so, as I'm sure many of you know, we have the 2-week cycle from the new moon in Aries to the next full moon that we'll have in Libra on April 19th. And then we have the 1-month cycle from the new moon in Aries to the new moon in Taurus, which is a month. And then we have the 6-month cycle, the new moon in Aries until the full moon in Aries next fall. And then we have the year cycle. We get usually one new moon a year in each sign. And so this is about cycles, but the archetypal wisdom is the archetypal wisdom for this month of April, but it's the archetypal wisdom for infinity. It's the cosmic psyche. And even though we are in a particular dimension of that wisdom, that we operate by certain laws of nature that govern this dimension, we're in the 7 lower heavens. There's a vast and infinite body of divine law that comes from the divine plane. So as high up as you can go in consciousness, the archetypes are emanations of this wisdom. And so I'm just going to take a peek. I have the chat open. I'm going to look at it. Oh, I have a couple really good quotes today that I'm excited about. Oh, maybe I don't have the chat. Let me just see really quick. Oh, there it is. Yay. Okay, good. All right. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. I just announced this today. So hello. It's really nice to see you. Oh, hi. And so, okay, let's get started. Sometimes I talk too long at the beginning. Let's dive right in. Let me see. We're going to talk about the archetype of Aries, but also Libra. I'll be doing another Libra full moon video in just a week. But this is a special new moon cycle because this Aries new moon is sandwiched in between 2 Libra full moons. And so the Libra archetype is really, really facing off with Aries. We have the new moon in Aries, and we'll look at what's going on at this chart. But we have another Libra full moon coming, and that says that this is a really special energy for Aries right now. I feel that Aries is really healing. The male energy, the emperor energy in all of us is healing, and that means so much to the planet right now. We're going to talk about that. In the description box, I linked another podcast that I did many years ago. It was probably in 2012 or 2013. It was called The Rebirth of the Divine Masculine. It was uploaded to YouTube, I think, in 2015, and it didn't circulate. It was originally on iTunes. And so that is a valuable, if you want to know more about the archetype of the emperor, it's a really valuable resource to have. It's in the description box. And it was really early on. There weren't a lot of people talking about the divine masculine. And I talked about it being regenerated into its true noble state. And so I recommend that if you're interested in learning more about this. We all have this power. It's really the power of the self. The archetype of Aries it's the I am. And it's the first sign in the zodiac. And so it's the place where the divine light, the cosmic I am, touches the ground in form. It's cosmic man woman becoming human, 3D man. And so there's a huge process. There's a whole metaphysical, and esoteric history around that descent into matter. But it's where we had the potential to fall, but it's also where we have the potential to link the above and the below, because that's why I called it I am that I am. I am being the supernal I am, and the I am of the self, the individual human ego. It's about, right now, that healing is about linking those two so that we're not, killing each other, so that we're not lost in greed and power and suffering and the kind of narcissism and energy that we see, vanity, all of it. We've got the masculine and feminine traits of this fallen consciousness, but so that we can regenerate and reconnect. Let me see. We're going to look at the Hebrew letter Hey. I think I'll touch on that. I'll talk about it for just a minute, and then we'll look at the aspects that are happening. There's some nice ones. So the Hebrew letter Hey, which is the letter for this sign of Aries and for the archetype of the emperor, it's a very feminine. It's Hashem in Judaism, and it's the consciousness. It's the divine consciousness, but Hey is also the fire letter in Yod Hey, Vav Hey. So we have Hey in the above and Hey in the below, Yod Hey Vav Hey. In the sacred name, it is the feminine energy. It's the supernal energy of the Sephirot, Binah, the divine mother, and the feminine energy of the earth, the daughter. We have the mother and the daughter energy in the feminine. The earth being the daughter or the bride is the second Hey. These feminine archetypes are concealed within the emperor. The emperor, the masculine archetype, conceals the feminine. And so the masculine and feminine are never separate. They can never fully be without each other. We contain those parts of creation within us. And as we awaken and become the true Christ force within this archetype, we will be linking the above and the below. It's really, really beautiful. It's really about consciousness. It's really about human beings becoming what they were, or what our divine blueprint, our divine archetypal blueprint really is. What we see is a version of archontic deception, or there's a consciousness war, and there is a fallen consciousness that has actually devised a plan to try to keep the human consciousness down. And that's just the way creation works. There is this force that has really held and gripped itself, cleaving to the fallen nature, that wants to really keep the greed and vanity and lust and narcissism alive on this planet, and use the soul energy to just kind of play in that. It's a battle of light and dark. We'll go into that a little bit deeper after we look at what's happening at the moon. I'm going to try, I mean, this isn't going to be as long of a video because we're going to be doing a lot more. I have some really good quotes. Let's look at what's happening at the moon. So the moon and sun are in Aries at 15 degrees. Along with the moon and sun in Aries, the new moon and the sun conjunct at 15, we have Chiron newly in Aries, Chiron at 2 degrees in Aries, and we have Eris at 23 degrees in Aries. So we have this like Mars sister Eris, which has been transiting Aries, and she is squaring exact Pluto. Pluto in Capricorn is at 23 degrees now, conjunct the South Node. And so first of all, it's conjunct the South Node. Pluto's in a very karmic place. It's also conjunct its own South Node. And Pluto and Eris are squaring each other. And today it's exact, and it's going to be for a while. That is a pretty heightened energy. We have Eris is this warrior energy of the feminine that wants to heal the feminine and wants to give the divine feminine its righteous place. It can also, in its shadow, be pretty mischievous and create a lot of havoc, but in its all archetypes have their shadow and their light. In its truth, it's a warrior for the goddess. It's one of the goddess warriors. So Eris is squaring Pluto and the South Node, and then we have Chiron and Aries. We've talked a lot about the energies of Capricorn and Aries, but these are two cardinal signs. Aries is a cardinal sign. It's an initiator sign, and it's also the first sign in the zodiac. And so we're in the waxing energy of the vernal equinox that we just had. So the energy is potent right now. The energy is pushing us all forward. It's giving us a boost to do this work and to awaken. Let's see, we have Uranus and Taurus. At 1 degree, it's in Archetypal Magic video, we're going to cover even more. Uranus is going to be in Taurus for a long time. It's huge, huge, beautiful energy. Uranus is working in the archetype of Venus and the Earth. Taurus is the Earth ruled by Venus. Venus and Uranus are going to do some alchemy. When Uranus enters into Taurus, it takes on the qualities and the agenda of Venus as she rules Taurus. We have Mars in Gemini, newly in Gemini at 3 degrees. We have the North Node in Cancer at 22 degrees. We have Ceres in Sagittarius trine the new moon, which I thought was really beautiful because Ceres is the goddess of mothers. And there's a lot of mother energy coming in for the next several years. The divine mother energy is on. Some of the divine mother planets that are ruled by the divine Hebrew letters that represent the great mother are going to be going retrograde. We'll be talking about those probably in the next video, but the mother energy is on because the mother energy is being restored to our consciousness. It's a very, very important part. And talking about Aries is really significant because there's a relationship between mother and father energy. Jupiter in Sagittarius, almost at the galactic center, but getting ready to retrograde. It will go back into Sagittarius into the earlier degrees and then come back over and go over the galactic center, which was going to be really a fun time to look at. And then we have Neptune. We talked about Saturn is in Capricorn at 20 degrees. Saturn is squaring the new moon energy. So it's a 5-degree orb. Saturn at 20 is squaring the new moon and the sun in Aries. And so it's just, we've had that Saturn imprint and the Pluto imprint all over everything for a long time now. And we've had the cardinal signs really on. We're healing Capricorn, masculine sign, and Aries, very strong masculine energy. And we're integrating it within all of us. It doesn't matter what kind of embodiment you have in this lifetime. There is a collective pull for masculine and feminine, but we all have a part. These archetypes exist within all of us. And so we're all doing this work. I was excited looking at the energy of Pisces because in Pisces, we have Venus at 11 degrees, Neptune at 17 degrees, and Mercury at 18 degrees. Venus and Mercury are the mind and the heart. Mercury is our mind, Venus is our heart. So we have the mind and the heart close, both conjunct Neptune. Neptune is the depths of the subconscious, and they're in the house of Pisces, which is the 12th house. The mind and the heart are in the subconscious energy right now. Venus or Mercury is newly direct, and so there's this trinity of heart, mind, and Neptune. Neptune is kind of a God source energy. It's mind, heart, and source energy. It's really beautiful. So let's go back into let's look at some of the archetypal magic now. I'm just going to check the. Look at this. Well, first of all, let me see. Maybe well, actually, okay, I'll go into some of this. And I have two really nice quotes that I want to read. So relationships. Aries represents the self. We have to be the self. We have to be strong. We have to be brave. We have to be powerful. In this world, we don't have a choice. Sometimes we're born with more contraction than other lifetimes. In those lifetimes, we're learning that lesson of being a little more timid or shy, or having some of our power more inward than outward. But it doesn't matter. We still have to find, even, and especially some of those who consider themselves to be very empathic, or in different alternative archetypal ways of being, it's still very important that we integrate our power and our sovereignty through the sign of Aries. We have to have a certain amount of get up and go power, fire power of Aries, Mars power of Aries. But truly, we need to have strength in the world, and we also need to have, and this is why the Libra, 2 full moons on either side of this new moon in Aries are super significant. We also need to know how to have service in our relationships. Whatever we love, we serve. There is no love without service. We have this kind of like, the kind of love that wants to take, the kind of love where we want to just dip into something and then be done with it, move on to the next thing. That's not love. We can experience a heightened emotion or a sensation that might remind us of love, but love always involves a form of service. And there's nothing like the mother archetype to teach us that. There's a sacrifice. There is a giving that humbles us and that allows us to bow. And when we are in relationship with anyone or anything, there is a certain kind of service we do in that relationship. We need to be strong. We need to be able to articulate our own needs, boundaries, desires. But once we've committed, we also have to know how to serve. Our true ascension and awakening comes through our service. Service is a very, very high ideal. All creation that is awakening, it will be in service. And some of the greatest master energies on this planet are not even known because they are so deeply involved in a service, a kind of service that is working with the energies, the incoming rays that are coming in, not drawing attention to itself, but holding the space to contain that energy so that humanity is able to receive it, because it has to find the right match in order to be on the planet. And right now, the collective just isn't a match for the highest energy that's coming in. And this is getting into some of the esoteric work, but the what do we call it? The magnetic field is weakening. There's new energies coming in. We all know that. There's a pole shift happening. We all know that. This is science. And there's new energy coming in. It's consciousness. It's consciousness. But consciousness is a double-edged sword. It's very, very powerful. Just because it's consciousness doesn't mean that it doesn't have the ability to bring life as well as death. Consciousness is a power that has to be mastered. And the higher levels of consciousness are a profound light. So the message of this archetypal magic. We'll look at the archetype Aries. Aries is reason. It's the initiator. It's self. It's the Christ force. By the Christ force, I mean that this is an archetypal energy of the light of creation. It's also the sun of source. It's also the original. There's a lot to it, but it's connected to the original divine being. And it's also a mediator to restore the archetype of that being. And we are living in a more fallen state that we're regenerating right now. It's the warrior. Oh, and I have a really good quote from the warrior of light. It's the warrior. It's the emperor. It's the sun. The sun is exalted in Aries. It represents our mind. Our brain is like a computer that the solar energy uses. The solar energy is all, it finds our brain. It also finds our heart. Our human brain, our egoic brain, has to be finely tuned before it can start to become the supercomputer that it was really meant to be. We have our divine glands, our pineal gland and our pituitary gland are very connected to the sign of Aries. That I am that I am. Remember, Aries conceals the feminine. It's vision. It's how we vision our reality. Our vision is our reality. How we see is really our power. And vision is a gift. It's overused in our world, and it's mostly used as a tool of distraction so that we're not doing anything original. We're not really receiving. We're being programmed in our vision. But vision is the high projector of the God force. And so this is in this sign of Aries. It's the life breath. It's Aleph, and it's the sun. It's that breath of God flowing through us and into creation, and going through the wheel so that it can awaken and transmute. It's sovereignty, it's the protector, excuse me, and it's the namer. So Aries is really meant to be in service. And that video, or that podcast that I did, The Rebirth of the Divine Masculine, covers all of that. It talks a lot about that. And it's the namer. So here's what I want to say. I did a little bit of writing. I'm going to read it. Let's see what time we're at. Yeah, I'm going to not make this video too long, but this is what I'll read what I wrote about, and then I'll do a couple quotes. I almost call this video the Karmic seed because it's about karma. We all need to wake up and understand what karma really means. We plant seeds in everything we do. Every time we open our mouth, every time we open our eyes, we are planting our karmic seeds. It's our power. That's what we are. We're creators. We either plant seeds of service to self or service to the source of love, which is all of us, which is unity. And the podcast I did was about the fallen Mars force. The Mars force in Aries has fallen. We live in war. We live in the worst possible mirror of that fallen energy on this planet, the way we treat each other, the way things are hidden, the way war is generated constantly to keep us in a fallen state. It's not no war is a coincidence. Everything is planned. There's consciousness moving things, but everything is being created by the lower force. And I have a quote by William Blake. I don't know where it is, but William Blake said, I'm going to paraphrase here. It's a really good quote. William Blake said, not to be too concerned about, the government or the aristocracy, whatever it was, whatever terms he used at that time, because even when the government is tyranny, pure tyranny, you can be purely free and bring freedom to earth. And even if the government is a government of freedom, the government goes in cycles. Sometimes it's about freedom, some in democracy and all the things that empower our constitutional rights and our ability to be sovereign and valued and recognized as equal. And sometimes it's in tyranny. We have all forms of kinds of government that take those rights away. And it's a cycle. It waxes and wanes. In this dimension, it waxes and wanes. It will come and it will go. It will come and it will go. He says, even in times of tyranny, you can be free. And even in times when there's a free government, you can be completely bound and in bondage. Oftentimes when things are free, people fall asleep. There's times when we live when times are good, if our consciousness hasn't woke up yet, human beings will tend to look for the good life, lots of sensual pleasures, and fall asleep. And then the next cycle moves in, sneaks up on us, and we don't even know it's coming. We see some of that happening right now. But what William Blake was saying is know your power, know your sovereignty. Your sovereignty is now. It truly is now. We look too much to the people in charge to tell us who we are. This is not Aries. This is not the Emperor. We name it ourselves with the light. All right, so we're planting seeds of karma. When we choose an action, the equal and opposite reaction comes back towards us. This is so big. And it's like, it's also the most obvious things are sometimes the hardest things for us to learn. Whatever you do to another person, you will live to experience. And it goes up. The higher, when you're privy to waking up, and if you're here, if you're in this video, you've started to wake up. So once you start to wake up, they say the higher you are, the harder you fall. The forces come in to support you. That's when we see the Divine Mother as Kali. That's one of the archetypes to describe this. But that means you start to be, the divine finds you because it wants to use you as a vehicle of love. And so therefore, every move you make, and as the higher you go, you're more on the radar and you're monitored, meaning there's a sacred force that wants to help you. And so when you misstep or when you misspeak or when you put something into the world that's not the reflection of what you're really going for, you'll find out about it. It depends on, it's also true that the darker you go, if you're in a dark consciousness and you're not waking up, or you've chosen the dark path, and you want to work with the dark black magic and the dark energies, you can go pretty far without facing your karma. The darker you go, you get a longer period because you have to keep going darker, but you're sacrificing your soul. You're giving off more of your soul. And when it comes, it's going to annihilate you, basically. And so that's why the dark fights so hard before the end is near, because it doesn't really have anywhere else to go. There's a certain point where it can still step out of it, and the law of justice and forgiveness will come in. There's a whole process, but we're going pretty far out. But this is it. This is the archetypal magic. But the more responsible we become, the more we want to do. There's their consciousness that there is always a conscious observing and witness of the ego and the personality. We can let go of the personality and not feel shame, meaning when we know we're having an unconscious day, if we come into I am, that will be dropped immediately. Because it's the personality. But if it's part of you that's awake and it's still serving the sensual, meaning the cycle of pleasure, and it can show up in many different ways, or indulging in hurting other people intentionally or with kind of in this cavalier kind of like Aries way, we will find out about it. In other words, there's a bit of suffering that comes with that. And that's why they always say, don't get on the path until you're ready. Once the door opens, there's no turning back. And so there's even a saying with Libra mirrors this to Aries. Libra is Lamed. It's the wisdom and to teach and to learn. That's why there's always a knowing of when it's the right time to put something into the world, because once you put it out, the forces will come to make sure you know what that really means, what that really is. So consciousness is a double-edged sword. Just know, so yes, that was the point, that the harder it comes, it might take longer. If we choose to go dark, we can go pretty dark. That's what we see happening on the planet. There's a dark force that's really pushing right now, really pushing. But people are waking up and the light is being shown on it. The higher you go in consciousness, the higher that you are accountable. This is Aries in its sovereignty. There is no sovereignty without accountability. There is no sovereignty without wisdom. You can't, if you can't, you can have all the material sovereignty and claim you've got money, you've got your fortress, you're protected, you've got status in the world, you're a A-lister in Hollywood, you're born into a high political family, you're nobility, you're born into the nobility. That alone will not protect you. That just because we have that kind of sovereignty in this time, in these times, it's the sovereignty of our wisdom that's going to protect us. So as we awaken, we're able to see the intentions. Oh yes, we're able to see things more clearly. And this again, this is something that isn't necessarily so as desirable as one might think. When you can see intentions, as we get more, as we clean our consciousness and we take care of business, and we begin to release some of those our darker elements inside us, all of a sudden everything becomes transparent, and we're able to see into the hearts and minds of our fellow beings. And it's, which isn't, I've talked about this before, it's not always a beautiful thing, because we realize we're under the negative force, and much of our human mind is consumed with negativity and aggressive, negative thoughts towards each other, even the people we love. And even people that we love and love us, we're constantly cycling through dark influences and thoughts towards each other. And so there's a reason why those gifts come when we're ready, because there has to be a lot of compassion, a lot of forgiveness, and a lot of understanding of the situation we're in. So, all right, as we awaken, we're able to see intentions. Yes, this is huge responsibility. It's a responsibility. We can't misuse that. If we misuse that, so once we use our Aries power to access the spiritual things. If we misuse those, that is forever on our record, and it's not something that we want to do. But this is life in duality. So I want to talk about, so often you think of Aries, negative Aries energy can also be trolling and projecting onto others, attacking others. When we're hypercritical and when we're projecting and when we're trolling other people, that is just a sign of where we're at. Because if you're in that place, it's a telltale of where we're at. Usually people who are beginning to access their own sovereignty and their own power, and they're creating their life and they're creating their divine purpose in the world, start to criticize a lot less, because we have a beautiful understanding of putting ourselves out there. And okay, I'm going to look at these questions in just a sec. When you put yourself out there into the world, and Aristotle said this, I couldn't find these quotes, so for some reason I meant to paraphrase a lot today. I think it was Aristotle that said that if you don't want to be criticized, if you don't want to be attacked, don't leave your house, don't say anything, don't go into the world. Anyone who's doing their work in the world knows that once you come into the world, you're going to have your critics. It's not possible to please everyone. When we're true to ourselves, there's going to be people who dislike us very much, people who like us very much. I always say this, the people who dislike you will one day like you. The people who like you very much will one day leave you, especially in the ego polarity, because the ego goes back and forth. One day it loves someone, the other day it doesn't like someone. That's an ego consciousness, and it's divine love is a much deeper level. But in this world, people wax and wane. One day they love you, one day they can't stand you. Your biggest fans will be the ones who take you down one day. It's just the way it works. But as long as you're true to yourself, you have to face that. That's part of your tempering. It's part of waking up. Part of being able to hold the power is tempering yourself. So you don't want to you never want to be too enamored or excited about praise, and you never want to be too hurt by criticism. You want to be wise and integrate those two into your own fire, this Aries energy, so that you become closer and closer to your true blueprint. And that's why going into the world, it's very powerful. We do this in relationships as well. All right. We each have a note to sound. I say that a lot. Oh, I know. I'm just going to look at the chat really quick. So, all right. Oh, and just then, how does one find the discernment to distinguish love from the sensual pleasures that come with providing and receiving them? Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, oh gosh, I did a whole series on sexuality and sex. It's oftentimes, you'll know one way is that after indulging, you'll know how you feel after. Right after, later on that day, the next day, there's an expansion and a clarity when sensual pleasure is meant to be, when we'll talk about this when we do the Taurus new moon. I love doing all things Taurus, but we're meant to experience sensual pleasure and even grow from it, but that we're meant to have all of our centers awake when we do, and we're learning how to do that. We can't help it. We're in this state where we had to really go in fact, you have to burn out the fire of everything. We have to burn out the fire of addictions. We have to burn out of to all the sensual pleasures. If we stop short of knowing the truth, we'll fall. We'll go up the ladder a bit and then we'll just fall back down. We have to know how to try to satiate those desires that we have, or those addictions that we have. It's usually after we've felt enough suffering and pain that we say, okay, I surrender. That's that Neptune energy. And I'm ready to humble myself and start awakening. But the way you can get balance is one. I always talk about the middle path, balancing the extreme fire with the extreme water. That's that central pillar. If you're trying to temper something and slowly wean yourself away from something, oftentimes it is good to go slow and go in steps. That doesn't always apply, but sometimes it's very helpful. Like it seems like I've met a lot of people lately that are quitting smoking, or that are quitting various different things. And you say to become very conscious while you're doing it first, to understand it and do it very elegantly and gracefully, whatever it is you're doing. And this is just one way. And be conscious of it and notice how it affects you. Notice how it affects your body, your consciousness. Notice how you feel that day, how you dream. You know that sometimes if you overindulge in alcohol or drugs or porn or whatever it is, you can feel pretty dark the next day. I mean, that thing brings the dark, it attacks the parasites and the entities. I talk a lot about this in the New Human Sexual Paradigm in certain podcasts, but it brings in like a depression. However, waking up can also bring fear, because sometimes when we choose things the right way, we feel really good, really good. And then all of a sudden that voice of the ego comes in and goes, oh, no, 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 no. Who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing trying to be so pure and holy? And come on, have a little fun. Or who do you think you are? So that even when we're on the path of cleaning things out, we get that voice too. So you have to kind of learn how to discern between the two. Let me see if there's anything else on sensual pleasure. I'll talk more about it with Taurus. But yeah, get conscious about, I talk about sex all the time. I haven't been talking about it as much recently, but I did about 3 years of straight of that work. Go in with your power. That's your Aries power. Know what you're getting involved with. Remember, we just said when you enter something or when you're with something, you're going to have to serve that thing. If you go with the dark, you're going to end up serving the dark. If you go with the heart, you're going to serve love. Love usually involves some kind of commitment or some kind of integrity. So let me see. That's why we don't get to see the future. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's true. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. Thinking about be yourself, because those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't mind. Love it. Thank you, Goddess. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. There's always more, but we got to get this video done. So yeah, Aries is completed in Libra. That's what I want to say. The self completes itself in relationship. The self is not a self until it's had relationship. We are not on this earth alone. Nobody comes to earth to I think I probably tried it in a couple lifetimes, but I have that hermit quality, that priest quality, but nobody has come to earth to be alone. We have to interact. We alchemize the whole system by interacting. We don't need to fear each other. I've talked a lot about trying not to fear each other. We all fear each other. It's a huge thing, but we have to alchemize. And relationships, even better. Committed relationships, huge, because once you commit to anything, you have a child, you get into a love relationship where you're signing on for a while with somebody, you're going to grow. You're going to grow and you're going to see yourself. It's the way it is. And the path, my path was specifically about that. I'm still doing a lot of working on some things in that area for this platform, but I've done a lot of podcasts on relationships. It's really powerful, and it's what we're healing in the world. That's why this 2 Libra full moons uplifting the Aries New Moon are saying, guess what? Relationships are art. We balance in relationships. Aries is complete in Libra, and that's it. The highest spiritual understanding. Yeah. Okay. So sovereignty comes, we said that. Sovereignty comes with responsibility. Like when we're sovereign, we're responsible. When we're the warrior, we've talked about Chiron in Aries is healing. It's healing the wounded warrior. We need warriors. We need real warriors. Even I hesitate to say this, but I will say it, even the military, even the armed forces in this dimension where people are not awake, it's a noble thing to serve and protect. We live in a world where the forces there's a lot of dark forces. And yes, you could say, well, I'm going to be really spiritual and really humble. I'm going to be like the Buddha. I'm going to be like the Christ and nothing will hurt me. Good luck with that one. No, I'm just kidding. Right now, there's a lot going on. And so actually, the more light you have, the more we are doing a lot of work right now with what's happening. But my point about is that it's an archetypal energy, the warrior, the service, the person who's serving and protecting. It's misused, obviously. We could say 1,000 things about that. But there's a spiritual meaning behind it. And it's important for us to understand that. We take it for granted sometimes. All right. We're going from, we really want to go from the service to self mentality. It's the fallen mentality. All right. So I'm going to open a couple quotes and we'll look at those. All right. Okay. I'm going to look at the Warrior of Light quote. My friend, one of my Facebook friends, Jay, posted this. And thank you, Jay, for posting it. It's really nice. Oh, shoot. Ooh, I don't see it. I will find it because it's really good. So first I'll do this one. This is a creation story that was going around. It's really beautiful. Creation said, I want to hide something from the humans until they are ready for it. It is the realization that they create their own reality. The eagle said, give it to me. I will take it to the moon. The creator said, no, one day they will go there and find it. The salmon said, I will bury it in the bottom of the ocean. The creator said, no, they will go there too. The buffalo said, I will bury it on the great plains. The creator said, they will cut into the skin of the earth and find it, even there. Grandmother, who lives in the breast of Mother Earth and who has no physical eyes but sees with spiritual eyes, said, put it inside them. And the creator said, it is done. And that is it. It's the truth. The truth is concealed in every tradition. The truth is that the power to create a reality is within us. I'm going to read one more quote. I found it. It's really good. So it's the Warrior of Light. This is Aries. This is Aries all the way. This is the Emperor. The Warrior of Light by Paulo Coelho. I hope I said his name right. I used to have this book. I haven't been able to find it. The Warrior of Light knows that everyone is afraid of everyone else. I got to repeat that because this is the energy we're talking about. The Warrior of Light knows that everyone is afraid of everyone else. This fear generally manifests itself in 2 ways: through aggression or through submission. They are two facets of the same problem. That is why whenever he finds himself before someone who fills him with fear, the warrior reminds himself that the other person has the same insecurities that he has. He has surmounted similar obstacles and experienced the same problems, but he knows how to deal with the situation better. Why? Because he uses fear as an engine, not as a brake. The warrior learns from his opponent and acts in a like manner. And we could say acts in an archetypal dance of life. It means the wisdom in understanding, not even your opponent. Now we're going to translate that to relationships. I forget, there's Chinese symbolism for relationships means to spar or battle. I'll find that symbol. Very powerful, the Chinese symbol for it, because relationships are like a battle, meaning we battle with the heart, we battle with love. We're always integrating in relationships. And by understanding the other, we respond in the proper way. And that's what we're learning with this energy. I'm going to close to the end, close to closing it out. Is there any, Libra is so harmonious. Yeah. I wonder if the US president were Libra, oh, that's cool. Carter Eisenhower Hayes. Ooh, nice. Oh, thanks for looking that up. Interesting. Only Jefferson was Aries. Wow. Obama's a Leo, Trump a Gemini. Oh, I thought Trump was Cancer. I think he has some energy in Cancer. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Clinton is Leo. And I think Hills is Scorpio. Really interesting. This stuff is so interesting. So nice to see everyone. I'm just going to say question. Any comments on the 5th planet stellium in January? Oh, I'll be doing more. We'll do a whole video on that. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Nice to see you. Okay. I think we're good. The Great Awakening is happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's happening. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to say to close this out. Let me just look really quick. Yeah, I think that's it. Find me next week. Subscribe to the channel. We do live streams. Archetypal Magic is going to be happening. Subscribe, like the video. If you like it, it helps the video move along. And, oh, I see something I was going to share. I'm just going to say this. Never fight anger with anger, or never fight fear with fear. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Never fight anger with anger or fear with fear. And that goes along with everything we've talked about. There's some really cool other things I found in my journal that I've written here. We didn't get to it. I'll bring it in next time. Reminder, Light Body Yoga information is coming out this week. And thank you so much. It's so nice to be with all of you. It was so nice to see some friendly faces that I know and love and some new faces. And until next time, blessings of the warrior of light for the Aries new moon.